So glad Marvel is finally back. But instead of movies, now we have a lot more shows coming out. If you want to know my thoughts on those, here's a quick rundown. WandaVision. Once the mystery is gone, so are the ratings, unfortunately. Falcon and Winter Soldier. It's an important political piece, but that's really it. Not a lot of meat on the bones here. Loki. Great, and I love it. But we're not here to talk about the shows, no. So until What If comes out in August, we're going to talk about the worst that this universe has to offer. Not because I hate these movies or anything, in fact it's the opposite. I want to go over what makes the bad ones bad, to aid in my reviews of future Marvel films. This video will be a bit more educational than others I've done, but I hope you stick around. And real quick, before we get started, I just wanted to show off some of my Redbubble merch. Boom, check this out. This is the exact kind of shirt we have on Redbubble, as well as mugs, pins, basically anything. So check out the link in my description if you want to see me make more videos like this in the future. Alright, let's tear these movies apart. So when you think of a bad Marvel movie, which exactly comes to mind? Well, since Peach is more of a pessimist, I'll let you take over this one. It's a little gift from me to you. Wow, thanks. Alright, you want to know what my least favorite Marvel movie is? Thor: The Dark World. Okay, where do I even begin? Waffles, personal question. Let the fine viewers out there know your least favorite part about this movie. Well, it's not very... The villain dynamic is kind of weak, I guess. Wait, who were the villains? Was there an after-credits scene? I know that Thor and Loki were fighting. What was even the plot? I think it was just a bit disjointed. It was just straight up a bad sequel, I guess. Okay. So it's pretty clear that this movie wasn't very pivotal in the lore of the universe. That itself wouldn't be a detraction. Plenty of good Marvel films fit that description. But the point is, this movie is just straight up forgettable. The cinematography and characters are just fine, but do you remember who the villains were or what their plans were? I sure don't. They had that kind of Ronin feel to them where they just showed up once and never again in the MCU. At least I think they did. Gah, I just can't remember a single noteworthy thing from this movie. I mean, I feel like none of the characters grew as people. And no, the Loki death does not count because that was retconned later. So here's the first lesson. Here's how to make a less than good Marvel movie. Lesson 1. A bad film doesn't develop its characters in meaningful ways. Loki didn't change, Thor didn't change, Jane Foster actually left after this movie, and you might say that this reasoning is flawed. Maybe there are good films where characters don't grow at all, and they're just kinda there. Name one lead in a good movie that didn't have a character arc. It's hard to name one, because it's a critical ingredient in making a high-budget production. So Thor: The Dark World is kind of a waste of time. But you know what else didn't really meet expectations? Okay. This was a bad film for a few reasons, but before we get to that, let's talk about what did work. Scott Lang is a goddamn national treasure. Paul Rudd just steals the show in these Ant-Man movies, and no one can take that away. Really excited for Ghostbusters Afterlife, by the way. Now on to the bad things. Michael Pena is just doing his shtick, and it gets pretty old, especially because he has a lot of screen time in this thing. Hope's character was okay, but again, didn't really feel like we accomplished anything here. And the villain, she can walk through walls? Okay, I guess that's something. Kite Man called, he wants his tired writer's room back. The villain is not only kinda dumb, but they go for an emotional angle with her, and it just doesn't work. She has a medical condition, and sure, that justifies probable murders. That sounds reasonable. This film simply does not know what it wants to be, and it shows. The screenwriting is just straight up cuckoo here. But the worst part of this movie, and probably the main reason it's so forgettable, is when it came out. Yep, between Infinity War and Endgame. You know, I want to see how they get back the stones and take on Thanos. Nah, we get flashback stories that have very little relevance to the story at hand. Lesson 2. When you're building a universe, you can't just shove whatever into wherever you want. I'm sorry, but fans didn't really have a priority to see Ant-Man sequels set back in time. I would have loved to see, I don't know, a Black Widow movie set immediately after Infinity War, when she's coming to grips with leading everyone and picking up the pieces before Endgame. That should have been her story. Speaking of which... Uh-oh, I may get some flack with this one. But maybe not, because it seems like a lot of people generally agree with me here. Black Widow, it should have come earlier. Scarlett Johansson can carry a movie, and they should have given her her own film years ago. Listen, I love Scarlett Johansson. Who doesn't, really? She just deserved a little better than this. See, I'm just not a huge fan of what this movie does. The first half of this thing is actually kinda good. It's a decent drama, there's some good action scenes here and there. It's not perfect, but it's certainly not bad. Then the second half turns into a typical Marvel third act, and it gets kinda I actually do like the concept for a second act, but it's sloppy, you know? This movie, more than other, feels so disjointed between the first and second halves. It sucks. But you know what else sucked? Taskmaster. Okay, look. I have no problem with changing a character, but only if this new direction is compelling enough to justify the change. Taskmaster was rarely used in this film, and that's just a shame. The trailers made it look like he or she was going to be the main villain, or at least the object our heroes have to overcome, but she's in like 2 scenes. That is not enough for her character to even exist, really. You gave the villain who can copy any fighting style 2 scenes, but you gave fucking walk through walls girl like half the movie. This was just such a colossal oversight, and I wish it weren't so. Black Widow deserved so much better than this. It's supposed to be a send-off for her character, but that's not the vibe I got at all. I went in expecting a movie that felt like a Marvel movie. Instead, I got a second-rate Bourne film. If you ask most Marvel fans which of the movies they haven't seen in the longest time, it's probably Iron Man 2. The original Iron Man was so focused on its story, everything unraveled at a slow pace, and it got progressively more and more awesome. The sequel lost sight of this, however, and it shows. Iron Man 2 feels directionless. It's introducing new elements, but they don't all fit together. The villain, I think it was like a knockoff Charlie Day. The premise of others creating Iron Man clones is a decent idea for a sequel, but that conflict doesn't progress Tony Stark's character at all, and he's generally more of an asshole in this movie. Way more than the first. And you know what this kind of sequelitis reminds me of? Final Space Season 2. The first season was headstrong, focused, and brilliant. No time was wasted. We got to see the story unfold at a brisk pace. When Season 2 rolled up to the party, it fell over drunk.
Give me a fat beat to beat my body test.
There was a loose story about finding the keys, but it seemed like everything else was just filler. It wasn't as, I don't know, meaningful as the first season. Iron Man 2 is much like that. Not as meaningful. Now I will say that Ivan Vanko was actually kinda decent. This is kind of a hot take. He has a connection with Stark Industries, so it makes sense for him to be a villain. He got screwed over by Tony Stark, kind of like Mysterio. But he's not as strong as Mysterio in terms of presentation or overall entertainment value, but he almost made it. Long story short, Iron Man 2 should have been better. Stupid villain equals stupid movie. But that donut scene is iconic, no wonder they're bringing it back for the What If series. You might think Iron Man 3 has the same problems as Iron Man 2. Haha, wrong. Unlike the last one, this movie actually has a plan for its characters. Tony Stark has a clear character arc. He's more than just a suit. It's a good finale for his character, even if it's sort of backpedaled on later in Age of Ultron. Instead of being directionless, this movie just has plain old terrible execution. Say it with me now. Krillin, horrible villain. He has ooey gooey lava powers, so yeah, definitely kind of out of place for an Iron Man main villain. And no, Mandarin does not count. Tony teams up with this kid, and look, I get what you were going for here. He's out of his element, allowing for his character to grow. That's good, that's what you need for a character arc. But it's a 10-year-old kid, man. It's just weird. It's just a step down from everything that came before. You know, you go from robots taking over the world to hang out with this kid in his garage. It's weird, man. There's not much else to say about this one. But now we've come to the last movie on our list. A film that lives in Rotten Tomatoes infamy. I've got a bad feeling about this one. Before you cancel me on Twitter, I'd like to say something. I don't have a Twitter, ha! But seriously, what went wrong here? It's Captain f***ing Marvel. She could have been something great. I don't have any qualms about a female empowerment movie. I really don't. We need more movies with this kind of message. But here, it's just so heavy-handed, man. It doesn't work, and I'm sad that it doesn't work. But I will say, the film does portray a man in a positive light in the form of young Nick Fury. So I don't think this movie meant to have a message that's this heavy-handed, but that doesn't change the fact that it is, and it doesn't really work. Because here's the thing. In Wonder Woman, Diana took damage a few times and got back up, but in Captain Marvel, Brie is basically invincible. A character who never fails is boring and not really inspiring. And I think Brie Larson is a good actor. I mean, don't get me wrong, she was amazing in Kong Skull Island. They didn't give her a whole lot, but she did good with what she was given. But here it just feels like personal, you know? But still, you can't expect me to fall in love with a movie that keeps telling me I should be ashamed of what people of my gender occasionally do. I wanted to like this movie, and I kinda did when it came out, but it constantly has its head up its own Cree ass, and I'm cock-blocked from having a good time. Okay, I know that I got a bit soapboxy there, and I apologize, but it's really why I have problems with this movie. Lessons are the cherry on top of a movie with a good story, not the other way around. It's just a fact that Wonder Woman works while Captain Marvel does not. If you disagree with this, I'd love to debate it in the comments. You know, I'm not opposed to hearing other sides of this argument. You know, just to me, Captain Marvel is the worst Marvel film because it's like a church revival meeting first and a film second. You need to be a film first so your message can carry over effectively. You're shooting yourself in the foot, so I can't learn from it. Brie Larson deserved a better Marvel character than this. You know, Marvel makes some damn good films, but that doesn't mean they don't have the occasional bad script or screenwriting. It just kinda happens. I do these kinds of negative reviews because I care. I want to see the industry improve with every decade, and this is just a small way to usher in that change a little faster. No Marvel film is perfect. Some are far, far better than others. But hey, 6 or 7 bad ones out of like 23 total is not a bad ratio at all. Anyways, that's all for this video. Comment below what kind of outfits my avatars should wear next. Next video will likely be a short review of Jungle Cruise. I want to get back to quick episode/movie reviews, you know? Those are just more fun to do, little lighter editing, they're just fun. Also, be sure to check out my Instagram for the full body sketch of Candles' outfit. Here's a couple drawings, full body drawings that I've posted. I hope you like them. As you can see, I can get a little more spicy over there than over here on YouTube. So, if you're into that, if you're a fellow furry, then go over to my Instagram if you would like to. Also, subscribe for more movie reviews/video essay hybrids like this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.